My name's Clarice Bean. I'm not an only child, but I sometimes wish I was. My family is 6 people, which is sometimes utterly far too many. Not always, just sometimes. Mainly, my dad is mostly in the office, answering the phone and going, "I can't talk now, I'm up to my ears in it." And the other day, he said that there might be a reshuffle going on at work, and that he's going to have to jump through hoops if he wants to get a share of the pie. He says the big cheese has been making noises, and some people might be left out in the cold if they don't keep their eye on the ball. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. I'm not quite sure what he was talking about, and my best friend, Betty Moody, says it's almost, probably, definitely code. He also gets lots of post with private written on it. I've had a sneak at one of the letters, and there were lots of numbers and dates and some words in red saying "final reminder." It's all utterly suspicious and has led me to the conclusion that he's a secret agent. Dad says if I was a secret agent, I would go and be secret somewhere hot and sunny with a nice beach and no telephones. Dad has to have a telephone with him at all times. He utterly mustn't be uncontactable, even a second. Mum is always gribbling about pants on the floor and shoes on the sofa. She says, "This house doesn't clean itself, you know. Who do you think does everything around here? Mr. Nobody. I don't get paid to pick up your smelly socks. If I did, I'd be a rich woman," etc., etc., non-stop. I'm the 3rd oldest, and I think it would have been a good idea if I was the youngest as well. I'm not quite sure why Mum and Dad decided to have more children after me, and it's a shame because he's ruining it for everyone else. His name's Monologue Cricket, and he tends to be an absolute nuisance. You might think this would be a relief to come to school, but if you do, then you obviously don't know some of the people in my class. Naming no names, i.e. Grace Capello. She's such a show-off, she doesn't even get into trouble with Mrs. Wilburton. I wish I could say the same about me. I get on Mrs. Wilburton's nerves. I know this because she's always telling me I do. To be honest, Mrs. Wilburton is not my favourite person on the planet Earth. Unfortunately, I am from Earth and she is my teacher. Mrs. Wilburton says I haven't even got a speck of concentration. I'm trying to prove her wrong about this by trying to remember to not concentrate. I think about it all the time. I'm so desperately trying to not concentrate that I think to myself, "Don't drift off like you did yesterday." And then I start thinking about how I drifted off yesterday and how I was thinking that I must listen to Mrs. Wilburton and all the things she is telling me. And then I am wondering, how does all the stuff she is telling me fit into my head? And then I am wondering if I should have a clear out of all the stuff I don't need anymore. You know, like when my dad cleared out the attic. Except we all decided we needed everything, and he just had to put it all back again. But maybe valuable space is being taken up inside my head, with things like elbows off the table and don't pinch your brother and pointless not needed things which don't matter, and that is why I can't concentrate. "Clarice Bean, will you please come back down to earth this instant?" That's Mrs. Wilburton. You can tell by her honking Great Goose voice. She says, "Clarice Bean, you are utterly lacking in the concentration department, and a common housefly has got more ability to apply itself." And I'm so mad, I want to say, "Mrs. Wilburton, you are utterly lacking in the manners department, and a rhinoceros has got more politeness than you." But I don't say it, because Mrs. Wilburton is allowed to say things about me, and I'm not allowed to say them back. That is just the rules of school.